There is one sales tool that every company has available right at its fingertips, and yet most companies don't even use it. Well, in this episode of Sales and Training, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and I'm going to show you how to use it. This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. So good to have you on the podcast. I want to ask you, will you take just a moment and like and subscribe to the podcast? And if you get a chance, share it with somebody, someone that can use it, who can be a part of this conversation. What in the world is wrong with sales training? Most everything. Well, that seems rather brash, doesn't it? But listen, the numbers back it up. The fact of the matter is most salespeople, not very good. Is it because we don't know how to sell? I don't think so. You've got people who are really good at it, and they're really good coaches and teachers, but the way we approach sales training in the corporate world is really a mess. I mean, it is, to use my word, a dumpster fire, a sales dumpster fire. Well, today I want to ask you a really simple question. Are you just absolutely ignoring or wasting your very best sales tool? Yeah, well, Kelly, that'd be tough to answer since I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, it's right there in front of us. It's in plain sight, and yet companies don't use it. And I want to talk about it today, and I want to talk about why it's important. Before you dismiss it entirely, I want you to understand why it's important. Then I'm going to show you exactly how you can use it and use it effectively, not only in the sales training process, but to make all of your sales reps better at what they do. What is it? What's the magic bullet? What is the best sales tool you have at your disposal? Well, it's your success stories, your sales success stories. Listen, I've been doing this for 20 years now, and it is unbelievable how every time I talk to a company and start asking them about selling success stories, times that they've solved big problems and they've sold deals and they've got these great anecdotal stories that they can share. And I bring them up in the training process, asking various sales reps to share them with me. Inevitably, without fail, people will raise their hand and go, "Man, I've never heard that one before. That's pretty amazing." And I look around and go, "How can you guys not know this story?" Okay, so big deal. What is the big deal? So what? Don't know that story. Who cares? What good does it do me? That's another rep in another part of the country. How does that benefit me? Well, I'm hoping the answers to those questions are pretty obvious, because there's so much that I can do with those, and there's so much I can use it in a teaching context. I believe that in sales training, the best place to start is not with product training. I've done 2 or 3 videos on that idea and exactly how to go about doing it differently. What I like to lead with is putting a brand new salesperson in context, not in front of the machine, the product, the service, in a classroom, tell them what it is, bring in experts and really get into all the details and just force feed them everything they want to know about that product. And of course, in the process, how it's the best in the business. Unwittingly, we're just giving people the words to go say to their prospects. And when they do, they say what every other what every other salesperson says. We're the best. We've been around the longest. We're innovative. Our solution is better than everybody else's, ad nauseum. If you actually take a new salesperson and put them in front of a customer, a success story, and show them the product in context, and they get to see it. They get to see it working. They get to see it being effective for a customer. They get to have some conversation with the customer. It fast forwards your training pretty dramatically. Well, okay, Kelly, but we haven't done that. So we've got a bunch of veteran salespeople out in the field. What in the world are we supposed to do? Share your success stories. Each individual salesperson has 1, 2, 3, 4 many phenomenal stories about a sale that they shouldn't have gotten, a problem they didn't think anybody could solve, overcoming challenges, helping them create new performance levels, overcoming gaps in performance, and on and on and on it goes. And when I know that as a salesperson, if I work for your company, listen now, this is critically important. I get credit for it because I am the company. I'm Kelly Riggs. I work for your company, and I say, so we have this customer that we've worked with, and these are the things that happened, and this is the experience that they had, and these are the reasons why they chose us. Doesn't matter that I didn't sell it. Doesn't matter at all. What matters is it's my company. I work for the company. I'm the company to them. So by substitution, I get credit for it. You realize how powerful that is? Because what do most salespeople do? Stop for a moment. Think about it. Most salespeople show up, they get into those prospect calls, they start making all kinds of generic, exaggerated claims. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We are the best. We do it better than anyone, et cetera, et cetera. When I'm making those claims, I have a conflict of interest. I get paid to say that stuff. So, I mean, there's going to be a tinge of guilt or doubt around that like, no, I can't. Okay, so that's what everybody says, and everybody can't be the best. And it's pretty well accepted that as a salesperson, you're going to position yourself to make yourself look good. So which parts of it are true and which parts aren't? But if I say, let me tell you about someone who's been there and done that and offer some details, I don't have to name the name of the company. Not at all. I'm telling them about a story of someone, and if it's confidential, I can even say, of course, I can't share the name of the company, but I can tell you exactly what happened, how it worked, what they did. I can tune out the details or leave them out, omit those details if it will somehow give that away. Listen, there's many variations of this and how to use it effectively, but there are some huge benefits because when you're sitting, for example, one of the best places to do this is in a sales meeting, right? So do you do quarterly sales meetings? I mean, certainly you can do it at the annual sales kickoff or whatever the case may be, but do you do weekly huddles? Do you do stand-ups? Do you do monthly meetings? Do you do quarterly sales meetings? Ask every salesperson to bring a success story. Hey, I want you to take 3 minutes, set it up for us. Who was the client? What was the situation? What was the problem? How did we solve it? Right? All of the questions that you can ask around this. What was the problem that we solved? What kind of benefits did they get out of it? What did they say about it that we can actually use as a testimonial, assuming we have permissions to do that? Okay? How did we win the deal? What was the linchpin that got us over the goal line? I mean, there's so many things that I can take away from that. Benefit number one, it builds enormous confidence in salespeople. When they hear about the successes and people overcoming challenges and issues and barriers and struggles, and we got there and we made it happen. And when they hear about the actual results that are created and how happy the customer is and great things they've said, listen, you know what the reality is? As a general rule, salespeople tend to focus on the negative. Oh yes, the things we're doing wrong, the ways we're not supporting the sales team or customers, the deficiencies in marketing or why operations or warehouse or manufacturing or engineering are not doing their jobs well enough to help us sell, and on, and customer problems and people that said no. Listen, you get together and talk about 3 or 4 or 5 really cool success stories. Everybody should take notes. Everybody should learn the stories. We should then create a short form template that we can use, type of customer, market they're in, description of the challenge, how we solved it, any details if we can offer those details. These are fantastic training tools, and they are fantastic for helping me as a salesperson do something very, very important. Coming up next, I'm going to share that with you and show you how to use this in a really tremendous way. Stay with me. Hey, thanks for making Sales Untraining your first listen of the week. And if you find something you like, if you hear something that's interesting, I hope you'll share it with somebody you know. You can find out more about me at bizlockerroom.com or email me, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Now back to the show. Talk a little bit about that from your perspective, how important it is for your people to be on the phone or be face-to-face, and how much do you encourage that?
It's extremely important to be face-to-face. I mean, people want to buy from people that they like. And if you're sitting behind Teams or you're sitting over a telephone, those are definitely communication means. You have to leverage those. The technology's available. We saw in COVID early on, it was not great technology, but by the time we got done with it, everybody got very accustomed to it. But
sure,
it's so important for your sales professional to be in your customers' facilities. They need to be having those face-to-face conversations. They need to be taking that opportunity to go entertain those clients, because that's where you really build deep-rooted relationships. Where correspondence is over email, that is certainly a means to communicate, right. But it is not the means of building a relationship.
Welcome back to Sales Untraining. It is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to completely rewire your sales training brain. Your sales brain and the way you train your salespeople. That's what this is all about, to make you think, to give you something to say, never thought about that exactly. How much of what we do in sales training is exactly the way we were doing it when I started in selling 40 years ago. Oh yeah, the technology's changed. I'll never forget. My first sales training was done on video on an 8mm projector. Yes, a gentleman by the name of Lee Dubois. Boy, if you know that name, I'm just really impressed. But I'll never forget that. Well, I was watching a projector, that projected up on a screen. And then, of course, we went to VCRs and then CDs, and now everything is streaming. And now you can find anything you want anytime you want. And yet, we're still training and making the exact same sales training mistakes that we were making 40 years ago. Well, the one I think that we're making and that we're talking about today is squandering our very best sales tool. Well, one of them anyway. And that is the success stories that we have. There is a reason that people buy from your company. And by communicating those success stories, we give salespeople the ability to let a third party tell them why we're good at what we do, instead of salespeople simply making generic claims and over-the-top claims and everyone sounding exactly the same, because every salesperson says, we're the best, we're number one, we've got the greatest quality and service and all those kinds of things. Well, how about you learn some of those success stories? Again, quick recap, it'll help teach the product a lot quicker. It'll help them see the actual results that your product or service creates for your customers. It'll allow them to put it in a context where they can see it in their mind. That helps their memory. And it also gives them things to talk about with prospects when they're talking to their own people. And yet I get credit for it. I didn't sell that deal. That wasn't my sale. It wasn't the thing that I worked out. But how do you give brand new salespeople confidence and ramp them up quickly? That's a new word. Quickly. How do you do that? Well, you help them see previous successes, especially if you can do it live in person. Then they get the confidence of saying, man, I've seen our products at work. Imagine a brand new person. I'm Kelly Riggs with your company, brand new. And I know just enough product to have a conversation. I've reached that first milestone. I can actually make some calls of my own, but let's face it, I'm pretty new. And they say, okay, well, tell me about you. And I start to tell them about me, in the traditional terms. Well, we're an innovative solutions-oriented company that custom manufactures products on the cutting edge of the evolution of this marketplace. We're a market leader. I'm trying to throw in as many business buzzwords as I can. Why? Because that's what your website says and your brochures say. Do you still use brochures? What a waste of money. You know where brochures go, right? When you're done with them? Exactly. So now we're doing everything digitally, electronically, PDFs, website, same problem. Our brochures and our information are all about Us. Customers don't care about us. On the other hand, if you can tell me a story that I can see my role in that story, I can place myself in that scenario and see it working for me, well, that's a lot different. So how do you use success stories? Well, when you start to talk about your company, hi, I'm Kelly Riggs, or, we've been having a conversation. Well, let me tell you a little bit about us. My company is X, and this is what we do. Now, that doesn't necessarily make us unique, but I will tell you what does make us unique. And I roll out some really significant differentiator, not we're innovative or solutions oriented or customer focused like everybody else, something genuinely differentiating. And then I say the magic words. In fact, let me give you an example. And then I pull one of those great stories out of my pocket that is directly related to what you do. And I begin to spool that story up and tell you a little bit about it. And now it's you and me watching the screen. And it's their movie is playing. And I'm having them listen to what other people say about us instead of me saying it. So we have a customer that we've worked with in another part of the country, and they had a really particular challenge that looked like this. And so what we were able to do is this, and this. And we find that that's why customers like to deal with us, because of that problem we solve or the way we solve it. Or there's so many applications to this, so many ways to come at it. We do an entire workshop to help people develop the things that you're going to be able to say that do one thing: make you memorable. Memorable. It actually differentiates you from everyone else that comes in the door. Imagine 3 or 4 or 5 salespeople, various vendors, come in and talk to me about a product that's just like the product, that's just like the product. Now, each of those products have their own uniqueness, a little bit of different features and benefits, but they all do basically the same thing. And every single one of them saying, we have great quality, great service, we're the best, we've been around longer than anyone, we care about you, we're customer focused, we're innovative, ad nauseum. How are you memorable? The reality is you're not. Even if your product is amazing, even if everything you say is absolutely a fact, it's true, it's not differentiated because everybody else says the same thing. So you're not memorable. But if you're the one person that says something that's truly unique, specific, differentiated, again, a lot of different ways to do that, a lot of ways to approach it. And then you say, as a matter of fact, let me give you an example. And you share a third-party customer success story, maybe even with a testimonial, something they've said. We've been able to do that over and over. This is what customers say about working with us that they enjoy. But I've given them a whole vignette, a story that, yes, I mentioned some common problems that even they're having, and they can put themselves in that story and understand it from another person's perspective, and not that salesperson who has one job, and that's to sell me something, right? So it really helps with their memory, it helps with credibility, and it really differentiates you from everybody else. Hope you'll use it, and hope you'll start collecting those sales success stories. I'll see you next time.
Sales on Training is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.